Hi, I'm professional sports handicapper Ross Benjamin. It's Thursday, November 14th. Time for another edition of my college football free picks of the week segment. These games will all be played on Saturday, November 16th. And as always, folks, these lines are subject to change depending on when you view this video, and they will be graded on the line I give out on this video. Sometimes, like I always say, sometimes it works for me, sometimes it works against me. It's the fairest way that I feel to grade these picks. So, anyway, having said all that, 69 and 54 over my last 45 videos. And if you haven't subscribed yet, folks, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button below. It's what keeps these videos alive. And for those of you who have subscribed, and there's many of you out there, over 5,000 subscribers since the football season began. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your viewing and your support. Let's get to these games. Indiana at Penn State. Currently, Penn State is number 9 in the country. They're a 14.5 point home favorite against the 7-2 Indiana Hoosiers. Looks to be an intriguing matchup. But after looking inside these numbers, I don't see it that way. I just see that Penn State is a far superior team. This is also a Nittany Lions team that's come off their first loss of the season, 33 to 28 at Minnesota. The Nittany Lions were a 6.5 point road favorite in that game. That was a very bad loss for Penn State in the respect that it knocked them out of the top four, in the college football playoff rankings, but they're still number 9. There's still hope, as with the win against Indiana on Saturday, and the next week they play at number 1 Ohio State, and if they could somehow pull off the upset there, they finish with Rutgers, and they have the possibility of playing Minnesota in a rematch in the Big Ten championship game. Minnesota in the other division of the Big Ten, currently with a 2-game lead with 3 games to play. So you just never know. And one thing, you can't worry about Ohio State until you take care of Indiana, and I think Penn State will win this game handily. As a matter of fact, if you look at the numbers here, Penn State 5-0 at home, totally dominant in their 5 home games, winning by 29.2 points per contest. I alluded to the fact Indiana is 7-2, but in my eyes, it's a very deceiving 7-2. One of their wins came against an FCS team in Eastern Illinois, and their other 6 wins against FBS opponents came against teams that currently have a combined record of 20-40, and none of those 6 wins over FBS foes were against teams that currently have winning records. So that's what I mean by deceiving. Their level of competition that they've beaten hasn't exactly been top notch. And probably the worst thing that happened for Indiana is Penn State losing last week at Minnesota, because the Nittany Lions, had they won that game, would have came into this game undefeated and would surely be looking ahead to their game against number 1 Ohio State next week. I don't see that being a fact now. Penn State can ill afford to look ahead to that game, and I think they're going to be smarting coming off that loss, and they're going to be out to impress the college football playoff voters, and I see this as a big win for Penn State. I'm going to lay the 14.5, but buy it down to 14, folks. 3, 7, 10, 14, all key numbers in college football betting. Again, minus 14, buy it down to 14. Penn State minus 14 over Indiana. Next game, I'm going a little off the radar here in the Sun Belt Conference game. And I know a lot of you don't like these low-profile games, but sometimes those are the games with the best value, folks. It's not all about Power 5 conference games when it comes to college football betting. And sometimes you can find value in these other smaller conferences like the Sun Belt. Arkansas State currently a 12.5 point home favorite against Coastal Carolina on Saturday. That kickoff goes at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. This is a Coastal Carolina team that started the year strong. They opened against 4 non-conference opponents and won 3 of those 4. Since then, since they began their conference schedule that coincided with Game 5 on. They've gone 1-4 against those conference opponents, and during those 5 contests, they're allowing 40 points per game and over 466 yards of total offense to the opposition. This is also a Coastal Carolina team since last year. After Game 2 of the season last year and this year, they're 0-7 straight up and against the spread when facing a team with a winning record. Arkansas State comes into this game with a record of 5-4, and they lost those 7 contests by an average of 23.4 points per game. Speaking of Arkansas State, they quietly have one of the best home fields in college football, and they've especially been effective as a home favorite. As a matter of fact, Arkansas State 18-3 against the spread in their last 21 games as a conference home favorite. And folks, that includes since 2015, Arkansas State is 8-0 against the spread as a conference home favorite following a straight-up win. And by the way, they won their previous game 48-41 at Louisiana Monroe last week. I like Arkansas State here, lay the 12.5 over Coastal Carolina. Finally, Pac-12 matchup between UCLA and Utah. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to focus on the total in this game, and I'm going to make this really short and sweet. This is a UCLA team, like last year, started off horrible under second-year coach Chip Kelly. They began the season by losing 5 of their first 6. Since then, they've won 3 in a row, and the biggest improvement I see in their last 3 games compared to their first 6 is their play on defense. The Bruins, during this 3-game win streak, are allowing just 288 yards of total offense per contest to the opposition. Utah, on the other hand, how about 5-0 at home and allowing just 6.6 points per contest, as well as holding those 5 opponents at home to 190 yards of total offense per game. Well documented, Utah was one of the best defensive units, predicted to be one of the best defensive units in college football in the preseason analysis by a lot of the experts, and boy, have they lived up to their end of the bargain. Their last 4 home games have all gone under the total. In those last 4 home games, averaged a combined 35.3 points per contest. Utah is an efficient offensive team. They're by no means an offensive juggernaut. They do score a lot of points on occasion, but they just don't have a lot of chunk plays. They more of an offense that sustains drives and chews a lot of clock and finishes them off effectively. And Utah, that's by example, Utah 35 minutes and 12 seconds in time of possession per game. That's absolutely dominated in that department. And you can't score if you're the opposing offense, if you're not on the field. So that between Utah having one of the best front sevens in all of college football, and defenses for that matter in college football, they also control the clock on offense. I like this game to go under the total. I'm going to take UCLA, Utah, under 52. Repeating again, Penn State, minus 14.5. Buy them down to minus 14 against Indiana. Arkansas State, minus 12.5 at home over Coastal Carolina. And the UCLA and Utah game to go under the total of 52. My name is Ross Benjamin. Be sure to visit my website. That's rbwins.com. My last 10 college football paid selections there, folks. 7-3, my last 10. That's rbwins.com, where you pay a little to make a lot. Until the next time, good luck with all your picks.